This is the story of a married pastor named Brodes Perry, a 36-year-old man who met a tragic end at the hands of his side chick, Latasha Daniels. Latasha came to his home after Pastor Brodes broke up their secret affairs to kill him in the presence of his wife. She continued yelling, "You broke my heart," while she pumped bullets into his body while his wife watched helplessly. He was a dedicated pastor and a third-generation leader at Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church in Memphis, Tennessee. But behind his image as a spiritual guide, there was a hidden side, one that would lead to a violent and heartbreaking end.
Latasha Daniels is accused of firing several shots at Perry, the executive pastor at Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church. The police report states Mrs. Perry let Daniels in their apartment late Thursday because she was a known acquaintance from Little Rock, Arkansas. The pastor apparently showed up 30 minutes later. His wife said Daniels began firing, shouting, "You broke my heart," as she was being escorted out of the couple's home. At one point, Daniels even began to reload the gun. Mrs. Perry was shot in the shoulder while checking on her husband, and police arrived in time to arrest Daniels at the scene.
Hello and welcome to Twisted Crimes. Subscribe and hit the like button for more stories. Pastor Brodes Perry was a young man with a strong future ahead. He was 36 years old and dedicated to his community. Before he became a pastor, Brodes had gone to school at Florida A&M in Tallahassee, where he studied business administration. Education was important to him, and he worked hard to get his degree, building a strong foundation for himself. But Brodes's life wasn't just about business. Over time, he felt a calling that was much deeper. He wanted to help others, not through business, but by serving them spiritually. This drive led him to become a pastor, following in the footsteps of 2 generations before him. He became a third-generation pastor at Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church in Memphis, Tennessee, a place where he found purpose and meaning. This role brought him into the lives of many, and he was respected by his community for his dedication and service. Brodes had been married before, but things didn't work out. Yet, he didn't let that stop him from finding happiness again. He met a woman named Tabitha, and they quickly became close. After some time, they got married, and Tabitha moved with him to Memphis. Together, they settled into a peaceful neighborhood, looking forward to their new life. But behind this seemingly happy relationship, there was a hidden secret. Brodes had started seeing another woman named Latasha Daniels. Latasha was 39, educated, and well-established, with a degree in criminal justice and a career as a clinical social worker and anger management specialist. Despite her success, Latasha developed strong feelings for Brodes, even though she knew he was married. Their secret relationship grew, with emotions running high on both sides. The calm life Brodes and Tabitha had in Memphis was shattered on April 4, 2019. That evening, Tabitha was home alone at their apartment in the Mar Park Apartments in Collierville, Tennessee. Around 10 p.m., she heard a knock at the door. When she opened it, she was surprised to see Latasha, a woman she knew as an acquaintance of her husband. Since she knew Latasha, she let her in, feeling safe enough to have her there. Latasha waited with Tabitha until Brodes came home. When he finally arrived, they sat together, and Latasha started a conversation with the couple. But as they talked, Tabitha noticed something strange in Latasha's behavior. There was an uneasy vibe, and it felt like Latasha was giving off negative energy. Finally, Latasha got up, signaling that it was time to leave. Brodes and Tabitha both stood to walk her to the door. But before Latasha left, she turned around, pulled out a gun, and aimed it at Brodes. Without hesitation, she started shooting, screaming, "You broke my heart," over and over. Brodes was caught off guard, and as he fell, Tabitha screamed in horror, trying to understand what was happening. Latasha left the apartment, but instead of running away, she stayed around the scene, seemingly in shock or simply not wanting to leave. Meanwhile, Tabitha managed to rush to a neighbor's door, banging and screaming for help. But before long, Latasha re-entered the apartment and shot Tabitha in the left shoulder. Tabitha managed to survive, but Brodes's life was slipping away. When the police arrived, they found Latasha still at the scene, with the gun in her hand. Officers ordered her to drop the weapon, but she resisted, leading them to use non-lethal force to subdue her. Even after being restrained, Latasha put up a fight. She was taken to a nearby hospital, but she tried to escape while being treated. Officers chased her through the hospital hallways until they finally caught up, and she fought them physically, grabbing one officer's shirt and resisting arrest.
A bitter love triangle now being blamed for the shooting death of a Memphis pastor at a megachurch. His name is Brodes Perry. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Ransom.
And I'm Katina Rankin. Latasha Daniels is accused of firing several shots at Perry, the executive pastor at Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church. The police report states Mrs. Perry let Daniels in their apartment late Thursday because she was a known acquaintance from Little Rock, Arkansas. The pastor apparently showed up 30 minutes later. His wife said Daniels began firing, shouting, "You broke my heart," as she was being escorted out of the couple's home. At one point, Daniels even began to reload the gun. Mrs. Perry was shot in the shoulder while checking on her husband, and police arrived in time to arrest Daniels at the scene. But while in custody, investigators say she assaulted the arresting officers. Daniels, a doctor of behavioral health, faces a number of charges, including first-degree murder. She's due in court tomorrow.
Eventually, the officers were able to restrain her and take her into custody, but not without adding charges of assaulting police officers to her case.
And new details about the woman accused of killing that Memphis pastor. Police say Latasha Daniels tried to escape custody by running out of the emergency room after the shooting. Daniels is charged in the murder of Brodes Perry and the attempted murder of his wife, Tabitha.
Joe and Condi, Collierville police say that shooting happened here at Meridian Park Apartments Thursday night. Now, we've learned all three of the people involved knew each other.
You broke my heart. That's what a Collierville police affidavit revealed Latasha Daniels repeatedly said after she shot Pastor Brodes Perry and his wife, Tabitha. It happened Thursday night at the Meridian Park Apartments in Collierville. 42-year-old Tabitha Perry told investigators she let Daniels into the apartment because they knew each other from living in Little Rock. About a half an hour later, 36-year-old Pastor Perry got home. All three talked for about 10 minutes until the Perrys walked Daniels to the door. Tabitha Perry says that's when 39-year-old Daniels grabbed a gun from her jacket and started to shoot Brodes Perry. At one point, Daniels told Tabitha Perry to, quote, "get out of the way," then shot her in the shoulder. Perry told police Daniels was reloading the gun before police got there. Daniels was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. In this police report, Tabitha Perry told investigators the actions and words said by Daniels led her to believe her husband was having an affair. This revelation just shy of 2 months after the pastor took to Facebook. Quote, "Thank you for navigating this thing called life with me," he wrote about his wife Tabitha on Valentine's Day. In the post, he says it's their 5th anniversary. Daniels is also charged with assaulting a police officer. Police say on Friday she took off running from her hospital room after police tried to handcuff her. She grabbed one of the officers by the uniform and started swinging at another, hitting him. Arkansas records show Daniels is a licensed certified social worker. Her license was issued in 2012 and expires in 2020.
As the investigation began, shocking details of Latasha and Brodes' relationship emerged. It was revealed that Latasha and Brodes had been involved in a secret relationship despite his marriage to Tabitha. This was something that no one in the church or community would have expected. The investigation also uncovered that Latasha had become pregnant with Brodes' child. However, Brodes convinced her to get an abortion, which seemed to deeply affect her emotionally. This, combined with Brodes' decision to end their relationship, reportedly pushed Latasha over the edge. Her frustration, betrayal, and heartbreak boiled over that night, leading to the tragedy. Despite her role as an anger management specialist, Latasha was unable to manage her own emotions in this case. She drove all the way from Little Rock, Arkansas, to Memphis, Tennessee, to confront Brodes, a journey that showed just how intense her feelings had become. Her background, education, and career didn't hold her back from letting her emotions take control. Latasha's first court appearance brought intense public interest. She pleaded not guilty to the charges, including murder, attempted murder, and assaulting a police officer.
Ms. Bailey, good afternoon, Judge. We are still in the information gathering stage. I certainly have talked to Ms. Daniels. Unfortunately, and not unsurprisingly, I can't tell you what I know. And so at this point, we just are continuing with our not guilty plea, absolutely. We come back May 14th. That is a probable cause or preliminary hearing. It is not a trial. The state has to put on proof to show the judge that there's enough evidence for the case to go further. The date you gave us, May 20.
We have May 14th.
May 14th.
We have May 28th. We have June 11th. And we have June 25th.
Can we set the 14th, and if she's going to have surgery,
You'll let us know.
That's
All right, so the request is May 14th. Mr. Gilbert's witness may have a health issue that would prohibit her from being here. If that, in fact, does occur, we'll address the court prior to the 14th. She's not used to being where she is. She's not feeling very well. She's accused of the most serious crime a person can be accused of. She understands the gravity of it, and I think her emotions are appropriate.
She was ordered to remain in custody, awaiting her trial. At first, Latasha was represented by a well-known defense attorney, Leslie Ballon. However, Ballon eventually requested to withdraw from the case due to disagreements on how it should be handled. The judge then appointed attorney Junie Gully to represent her. With a jury trial expected, the legal proceedings continued, although delays and uncertainty left the case hanging in limbo. The public watched closely as the case dragged on, with Latasha's future and her punishment uncertain. She faced several severe charges that could lead to a long prison sentence if found guilty. The tragedy left a deep impact on the community. Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church, where Brodes served, was shaken.
New at 9 tonight, we are finally hearing from the senior pastor of Mississippi Boulevard Christian Church about the recent passing of Pastor Brodes Perry. Reverend Dr. J. Lawrence Turner talked about Perry's passing with his congregation this morning.
Not only have we experienced the death of Brodes Perry to violence, but the rumors swelling around his murder leave us shocked and shaken. To those of you who are wondering, how could this happen? How could this happen within our safe and loving church community? To those of you in particular who came to know him as I did during the 5 months he was at Mississippi Boulevard, I want to say, I'm heavy-hearted because of your pain.
Pastor Turner also mentioned church leadership will be reviewing the church's hiring practices moving forward, and grief counselors are still available for any church member.
Church members struggled to come to terms with what had happened and tried to support Tabitha in her time of grief. Tabitha was left to cope with the loss of her husband, the trauma of the shooting, and the betrayal she had discovered too late. She had been drawn into a tragedy she never expected, caught between her husband and his affair with Latasha. Latasha's once bright future was also destroyed. As a qualified social worker and anger management expert, she had a stable career and a promising life, but her actions that night threw everything away. The public found it hard to understand why a woman with so much going for her would let her emotions lead to such violence. The media shared details of the affair, abortion, and her ultimate crime, leading to mixed reactions. While some felt sympathy for Latasha's heartbreak, many felt she had chosen a destructive path that hurt everyone involved. Brodes's family and friends were left devastated. They remembered him as a dedicated pastor, someone who had spent years helping others. Losing him in such a violent way was heartbreaking, and his family struggled to find peace after his death. His church community, who had looked up to him as a leader, also mourned deeply. They held prayer vigils and services in his memory, hoping to find some healing amid the tragedy. Friends noted that Tabitha, while devastated by the betrayal, was still grieving the loss of her husband. She faced her own mix of emotions, feeling both hurt and deeply saddened by the tragic end of Brodes's life. No amount of punishment could ever bring back Pastor Brodes Perry. He was a guiding light to those who knew him, his life a beacon of faith and strength. Even though he's gone, his impact remains, reminding us all of life's fragility and the devastating toll of violence. Our deepest condolences to the family of Pastor Brodes Perry. May his soul continue to rest in peace.